Thank you so much. So here now, Marc Thiessen, an American Enterprise Institute scholar, and Jessica Tarlov, a Democratic pollster. Both are Fox News contributors. Welcome to both of you.
Good to be with you, Martha.
Good to have you. Let me start with you, Jessica. You know, the suggestion, and it's very subtle in the way that she brings this up, but as Ed rightly points out, she then says, well, why not Jake Harney? You know, he was out front, and suggests that at least one element of this is that she is black and that she's a woman.
Yeah, well, the reason it's not on Jake Harney right now is Jake Harney is not giving interviews. I mean, we haven't seen Jake Harney in a long time. She is right. So that's going to draw attention to you, of course. And we know that the Benghazi storyline is a favorite of those who oppose the Obama administration.
Television programs.
Absolutely. I mean, Jake Harney did stand up at the podium and obviously played a role in that. And there are those who still want to talk about Benghazi. And anytime an American life is lost, it's a worthwhile discussion. But I think that she's being focused on because she's in the public about it and because of the unmasking issue.
Right,
now, we know that there are people on both sides of the aisle who have said that the request to unmask individuals, not politically motivated, is completely appropriate, and we'll hopefully hear more from her on that front. But what I would say is that I don't believe this is about gender. I don't believe it's about race. I believe it's about partisanship. And that's a problem that both sides have, that we just go on these hunts constantly to tear someone down.
But she's dangling it. Right?
Well, she says,
which I think is such a mistake. She went on the show, she said, I did absolutely nothing improper. Then that is the line of argument.
Right.
Nothing that I did was improper. But once you open up that can of worms and you start to suggest, well, maybe I'm being picked on, and I'm going to get into this in a moment, in terms of other women, she says, are in a similar category because they're involved in politics, they're in a seat of power. And Marc, let me bring you in on this. I mean, either you believe what you did is right because it was right and it's the policy and it's okay to do it, or not.
No, absolutely. And look, if Susan Rice is being criticized because she's a black woman, does that mean all the people attacking Donald Trump are doing it because he's a white male? Of course not. I mean, hiding behind your identity is pathetic. It sends a signal that I have no better argument to make for myself than hiding behind my identity. The reason Susan Rice is being criticized is because she has been serially dishonest with the American people. It started with Benghazi, but it continued when she said Bowie Bergdahl had served with honor and distinction. It continued in January when she said that Barack Obama had verifiably disarmed Syria of all of its chemical weapons, which we now know is untrue. And then it continued in this case when she was asked point blank, you showed the video, she was asked point blank, do you know anything about this unmasking of Trump officials? And she said, I know nothing about it. And then only later did it come out that she did know about it because she had done it. But, so when you have this serial dishonesty with the American people, guess what? People are not going to believe your excuses and they're going to come after you.
That's absolutely true. But I would say if someone just listened to what you just said, that statement that you made, it would seem as though nothing could be about racism. Nothing could be about sexism. And we all know that that's not true. Yes, everyone who opposes Donald Trump, it's not because he's a white man.
It has nothing to do with sexism or racism.
But the way that you frame that belittles the issues that are out there that do revolve around sexism and racism.
There's no issue regarding those things in this conversation. That's the fact. There's absolutely no evidence to support that she is being asked these questions, that she's being subpoenaed. Samantha Power is also in the same category, as is John Brennan.
And Ben Rhodes.
Neither one of them is putting forth any idea of victimization in this process. And she herself has made the argument, as I said initially, that she feels that what she did was absolutely proper. Now, other people have also made that argument, have also come to that defense and said there's, she's got every right to look at that.
Yep.
So that's the problem with this defense. And it throws open this Pandora's box, which, many people will see as a crutch, as victimization in a place where it's not necessary.
Yeah, I'm just saying in reaction to what Marc said there, that to kind of slander identity politics in full, I think belittles the realities of how the system works for many people. Now, in my opening statement, I said, I don't think this is about sexism and I don't think it's about racism in this particular instance. And I think that she should answer all questions. I absolutely think that so we can move on. But if you think that identity politics or the role of sexism and racism in our system is not due a worthy conversation, I just firmly disagree.
But in order to claim it, you have to make some relevance. You draw some line of relevance, which we haven't seen yet.
Exactly. When you actually, she's the one who's belittling this issue when she hides behind her race and her gender in order to cover up the fact that she did something wrong or potentially did something wrong. Well, we know that a crime was committed here. Unlike the Russia probe, we know that a crime was committed. Mike Flynn was unmasked at Susan Rice's request, and somehow that information got into the Washington Post. That is a crime. Now, she may not have leaked it. She says she didn't, but somehow it made its way from her office in the West Wing, because she's not supposed to share that information, to somebody who leaked it to the Washington Post.
We also know that she has
Americans have a
denied
right to
that
know how that happened.
She denied that she had anything to do with that, but as we say, she's been subpoenaed. So I want to just move this conversation to one more place here. Susan Rice also in this interview brought in another former national security person into the conversation, saying in this interview, a former Bush official, Condoleezza Rice, that she, quote, took a lot of stuff, not frankly, I don't think, to the same extent I have, she said, but that was ad hominem, or in other words, directed at her because of who she was, not because of policy issues. And coincidentally, earlier at another venue, the former advisor to President Bush, who rarely talks about politics these days, was just happened to be speaking out as well about her take on President Trump. Watch.
I believe every president of the United States stands for our values. While the language may be different and we might talk about needing to deal with policy, I think you're going to see that the view that America's interests and values are always linked will come around. It's early days in this administration. Let's remember that.
So Susan Rice suggested that the incoming, that she volunteered comparisons with Hillary Clinton and Condoleezza Rice have more to do with perhaps gender and race than policy, who they are rather than policy. Marc.
Well, first of all, I don't remember Condoleezza Rice ever blaming race or gender for how she was treated in the public domain. She never did that, like Susan Rice did. Second of all, in terms of what she just said, I think it's 100% right. I think that I think it's what's shocking, quite frankly, is that our politics has descended so low that that's even a controversial statement, that the president of the United States is working to advance American values. I think every president of the United States, whether they're liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, is doing their best to advance American values as they see them. I think Barack Obama was probably the worst president our country's ever had, but I think he woke up every morning trying to do good for the country as he saw it. Same is true of Donald Trump. Why can't we as a country just accept that these people have differing views and they're trying to do their best for the country as they see fit and advance the values of our country?
Good point. Jessica.
Yeah, I don't disagree entirely. Well, certainly in the rating of President Obama, but that's a whole other segment. No, I think that what Condoleezza Rice said there, and honestly how she's been through the entirety of this with the election and afterwards, since she doesn't speak out that rarely, has been completely on point, especially for moderate Republicans and those who are kind of slow to accept President Trump. And maybe even as an olive branch to the other side, saying, I know he's not saying it in a way that you're comfortable with or maybe that you're used to, but his heart is in the right place. I obviously disagree with a lot of the policies that are being implemented, but I think Condoleezza Rice is an example for all of how we should be speaking about what's going on, because we've got 4 years. So,
great points.
Agreed.
Love having you guys here. Thank you very much. Good to see you both tonight.